Hi, everyone. Welcome to the panel today at Life at Corsair. I am joined today by Tracie and Andrew. My name is Christopher Mann. I am the CSUN Club President at CSUN University Northridge. And we can have Tracie introduce yourself real quick.
Hello, everybody. I am Tracie, and I am a product manager at Corsair.
And I am Andrew, and I'm a junior PR specialist.
Wonderful. And great to have you guys here today. So we'll start off this panel with a quick introduction to you guys. So could you give me a brief description of what you guys do at Corsair? We'll start with Andrew this time.
So the PR team, our primary function at Corsair, it's a little different compared to other companies, but our primary function is to get coverage for our products. So whether that's a product launch or whether that's ongoing, I work with YouTubers, websites to send them products, help them troubleshoot any problems and get their coverage posted. Hopefully on day one, that's our goal, but doesn't always happen. And that's the primary function. And beyond that, it's, sometimes put out some fires and just kind of help other teams get media outreach.
Wonderful. And Tracie, do you want to tell me what you do at Corsair?
Sure. So I've been working at Corsair for almost 5 years now, and it's kind of an interesting time because I actually just started this role as product manager about a month ago.
Woo!
So
Congratulations.
it's still weird saying that that I'm a product manager because I'm still kind of getting used to everything. I started the work in July, but previous to that, I was a marketing manager. I did go to market, which is basically handling all of the marketing for our peripherals. So keyboard, mouse, headset, mouse pad. I would kind of help put together all of the marketing plans for it when we want to release the product, whether it be what we want our video to be, what we want our website to look like, what we want all of our photography and assets to look like. So that was my primary role. And now starting this new role, I'm going to be doing product management for peripherals. So working with the same products, but product manager is a whole different space because basically I am in charge of launching products. So if we have certain products we want to come out, whether it be a new keyboard, thing like that, I'm basically the glue person that makes sure everything that we need to launch the product is ready to go. So whether it be, working with engineering, procurement, even marketing, just everything that we need to launch product, I have to just kind of make sure it goes seamlessly in the schedule and the timeline that we want to launch it. So that's my new role.
Nice. Congratulations on the new job that you got.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So we'll hop into our next question. So while it's definitely not easy to get a job in esports and in the gaming world, much less since bigger peripheral companies like Corsair and all that, what was your background before joining Corsair? And how did you leverage that experience into helping get your role at Corsair? We can start with Andrew.
So I started at Corsair about 2 years ago, and I had 2 years of previous experience out of college. So I worked at a really boring B2B public relations and social media job before. And I basically was ready to kind of move on from that. And so I applied to places I wanted to work at, and that was Corsair. So I basically leveraged the PR knowledge I got from my previous job, which is a really good foundation. And I basically sold that whenever I got the interview. I was like, hey, I know PR. You don't have to worry about that with me. The only thing I have to get a little bit better is on the technical aspect of things. And that really resonated. Is like, okay, we don't have to train this person. So I leaned toward that and used my experience and what my, actual knowledge base and my wheelhouse was. And I really leaned into that and ended up landing the job. So yeah, that's just not too. Yeah, go ahead.
Got a good foundation with your first job that set you up for Corsair.
Exactly. And I kind of understood that was my goal the whole time, was to basically get experience and then apply it to jobs I really wanted to be at.
We can go to you, Tracie. Do you need me to repeat the question?
No. So I can, talk a little bit about my history. So I actually a little bit different. I, had been working in gaming for a while before I got the role at Corsair. I started, my very first job was actually an internship. I interned with Ubisoft in college. And after graduating, I had a couple of like smaller jobs, but then Ubisoft, reached out to me, and they had a role that they were interested in. So I worked with them for about a year or two. And then after that, I actually also worked in PR for a small PR agency that worked with primarily indie games. So I had been building up the experience, and then I saw a role at Corsair for community manager, and that's actually how I started at Corsair. Is I applied for a role community manager working in social media, and I leveraged that background of working in gaming and already having some marketing experience in PR, and that's how I got the role.
Okay, well, nice. So you've been in gaming esports for a while, then starting with
Yep.
Ubisoft and all that. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. At your jobs before Corsair, were there any skill sets that you guys learned there that you brought over that you think gave you an edge? We start with Tracie.
Yeah, I definitely think it was very interesting when I had applied. When I did have some of that PR background, they were very interested in my interview. Everybody was asking about that. It's funny, Andrew, I don't know if you know this, but your boss, who is like the director of PR, interviewed me, and he was like, "Man, like this, you know a lot about PR," which is really interesting. He's like, "Why aren't you applying for a PR job?" But
you're saying you almost took my job from me? Okay.
Yeah, basically.
Small world.
Yeah. So I think that was really important. And I did, do some like video content and social media content for Ubisoft that I think was also very good. So I guess really it was a lot of things that I didn't, I had my interest in Corsair and their peripherals. That was like my forefront, but a lot of the things that I had worked on in my previous jobs, it seemed like they were interested in getting to know better and understanding the process of what I did previously. And that was a lot of the stuff that I leveraged, and I thought it was really interesting.
Okay, nice.
So for me, I think the biggest thing and the biggest thing in PR is building relationships. So the 2 years of experience I had at that PR agency before, really it taught me how to build relationships and how to go from cold reaching out to building a strong relationship and being able to work with media really closely. So that was the biggest thing I brought over, along with some work in like in some services like Meltwater and things like that, just to kind of get you used to the journalist side of things. But yeah, no, it really is the foundations of just PR and relationship building.
Was your major PR? What was your major at wherever you graduated from? Okay, cool. Nice. So you've been in PR for a while.
Yeah, ever since. I mean, I'm not too old. I'm only 26. So past 4 years, all PR.
Nice. Okay, cool. We'll hop on to the next question then. This will focus more on your current job versus your past. What is your day-to-day like working at Corsair in like your current position and all that?
I guess I'll start off with this one.
Sure.
Yeah, I've already kind of touched on it a little bit. So the main role is to reach out to YouTubers and media websites and basically say, hey, we have this cool product coming up. Here's some details on it. And basically try to get them cover it, hopefully on day one, if not within a couple of weeks of launch. So that's, and then once I pitch, hopefully they say, hey, yeah, love to take a look at this. And then I follow up with them, send them the product. And basically, if they have any issues, I troubleshoot. Hopefully, if they have any issues, we get the unit replaced and all sorted out. And so that everything goes smoothly on their end. And then beyond that, we also work with mostly YouTubers on like builds and setups and stuff like that. So we'll send them Corsair products, Elgato products, and get them to be included in builds just to kind of build some brand loyalty among their followers, right? And it also helps them out because they don't have to go out and purchase the products themselves. So that's just building relationships, helping YouTubers, media out, and they help us out in return. And that's the big part of our job. And beyond that, we have our hands in a bunch of different things. So we also help with, for example, I helped with the Corsair recent 7000 series live stream, and I'm working with Gamer Sensei, a recent acquisition, and there's just a bunch of different things that kind of pop up. And I work with Tracie's old team, the gaming team, every now and again as well. So, and then I work with all the product managers as well, because they're launching their products, right? So we want to get them great coverage. So if you have any questions, we go to them and say, hey, I'm not an expert in this product. You've been working this product the past year plus, right? So they know their product well, and then communicate that to our reviewers.
Okay, cool. And then Tracie, we can go to you next for what you do.
Yep. So my end of the day-to-day of being a product manager is it is essentially a lot of it is problem solving. A lot of things I think that come up when you're launching a product. The big thing is knowing the end user, like knowing your audience, who's going to buy the product. And so people will come to you and ask you questions, and you have to kind of know, how to solve them. So I will be working with the engineering team, and communicating with them. A lot of the big part of my job is communicating with all of these other teams. So if there's something like, hey, we want to add this to the product, I kind of have to think about, is this something that a user would want? Maybe yes, maybe no. So just kind of coming up with those things, putting together briefs and things for what we need for the launch, whether it be the planning out the packaging and, all of the guides that come with the product. And also, just planning out the marketing and how we want to bring this product to users. What kind of ways do we want to market it? And what kind of assets do we think we'll need for this? How do we want to make the big announcement for the product for people? So it's a lot of things, kind of just a lot of communication with different teams and making sure that everything is moving as smoothly as it can be for a big product launch.
So in summary, our jobs are lots of emails, lots of meetings.
Yeah. In that way, yes.
Yeah. We love emails and
yes.
Okay, cool. Nice to hear what you guys do day to day. So we'll hop into the next question. With many students looking to get into the industry, either esports or product or companies like you, how did you guys find out you were passionate about it, getting into the industry? Like, what made you guys decide you wanted to be in esports and peripherals versus any other company?
I can start with this one. So I actually, and I think this is very relevant for students. So when I was in school, I had like two paths that I could have followed, because I actually did two internships in college. I did one with Ubisoft, and then I did another one in Washington, D.C., because I went to school on the East Coast, with C-SPAN. And so I kind of, for a while, wanted to go down the route of like working with doing like kind of like a more government media job. And that was something that I thought like conventionally made sense, because I was like, oh, back then, and there's still that stigma now, jobs in gaming is like, do people even find that to be valid and all that stuff? I think that stigma was more prominent maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, but it's still obviously there now. And so, conventionally I was like, okay, this job makes sense. I'm going to go down this path. But, I really enjoyed what I did with Ubisoft, and I loved making content with them. We made like videos and blogs. For the big one that I worked with was Rainbow Six Siege. And I just really enjoyed making that content and thinking creatively. And so I decided to, stick with that and stick with my connections that I had made in that job and, make a good impression with them. And it ended up turning up to be a more sustainable job after the internship. So I, decided to take that, and I just kind of went from there and was really happy with the decision that I decided to, take that path and stay in gaming.
Nice. I'm glad you stayed.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that question, because trying to make sure I answer it correctly? I got lost in Tracie's answer.
I know my story.
So it's with many students coming into the industry, looking to get into the gaming industry. How did you find out you were passionate about it? Or after you joined, why did you decide you're passionate?
Yeah, so video games have always been a big part of my life. From I started on like the Sega Genesis, and then PlayStation, PC, all throughout my childhood growing up. So video games have always been a big part of me. So I always knew I wanted to end up doing something in the industry. So when I went to college, I first went undeclared, had no clue what I really wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to end up in video games. So I was like, okay, what's a industry, what's a major that I can kind of do anywhere? So it's like, okay, I could do marketing, I could do advertising, I could do PR. I ended up in PR. It just resonated the most with me. Just building relationships is something I'm really good at. So I went that route. And then I had that plan, like I mentioned before, of I want to get some experience. It's just so hard to go straight in cold and be like, hey, Corsair, hire me when you have no experience. So I wanted to get a plan of, I'm going to work this job. I'm going to get experience. I'm going to learn. And once I feel like I can't learn anymore, I'm going to apply to places I want to work at. And that included Corsair. So I also did some like YouTube stuff on the side. And that also helped me appreciate and understand, because now a big part of my job is working with YouTubers. So now I can really understand those guys and girls and really help them out, because it is about helping them, because they'll help us. It's a relationship, right? So I always knew what I wanted to do. It's just a matter of how do I get there, and I figured that out in college, and I'm glad I ended up where I am.
Nice. You had a game plan. That's perfect.
Yep.
I wanted to say, by the way, for anyone in Twitch chat that has any questions for Andrew or Tracie, you could type them in the chat, and towards the end of the panel, we'll be answering your questions. So with that, we'll be going to our next topic. We'll be talking more about how you guys got the job and everything. So for our first question, with more and more positions opening up and more candidates starting to come into the industry, has the bar gotten much higher than early days in your opinion? In which ways do you think a candidate could set themselves apart from another student? We can start with Tracie.
Yeah, I think the bar, I would say it has gotten higher. But that it doesn't necessarily mean it's impossible. I guess the big thing that I would say really helps is making sure you really do know the company that you're applying for. And I feel like that's kind of, it seems like an obvious one, but I've noticed in the past, sometimes they'll know, of course, they're like, oh, I know your products. But I think really diving deep into the brand and what our story is really important. So people, for example, will say, I know I really like your K70 keyboard or whatever. That's good. But I've seen some people say things like, I noticed that you have a software IQ that you really are pushing to be like this ecosystem. And the fact that, if people kind of notice things outside of the like things that are more obvious about Corsair, I think that makes it really interesting. So to me, that's something that can make a person stand out a little bit more and, get them a little bit more higher up than some of the other candidates who may just know like the surface level stuff.
So just look past like the fancy keyboard at like what makes the keyboard Corsair's version versus some other companies. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think another way to kind of set yourself apart, because like Tracie was mentioning before, jobs in video games is a lot more accepted and it's just a lot bigger now. So there are a ton of people that want to get in this industry and want to work there, especially young people. So everyone that's applying for this position has a passion for gaming or PC building. So you need to separate yourself beyond just that. So you can come in and say, hey, I have a huge passion for this, but so do the other 100 candidates that are applying for this position. So you have to figure out what's my unique selling feature. So like I said, for me before, that was, hey, I have previous PR experience that's really going to be valuable. And on my interview, he was like, hey, all these other people, they had more building experience, they had more experience in this industry, but they didn't have the PR experience. So that's why we wanted to end up choosing you. So I focused on what my unique selling feature was, right? So I only done my experience versus just my passion, which you need to have that passion, of course, but so does every person applying for that job. So find something that's your unique selling point and hammer that home. And especially in your interviews, make sure you're focusing on that. And like Tracie said, know the company you're applying for and understand them and what they mean and where they started and how they've gotten here. Because that was a big part of the interview that I had at Corsair was, did I know when the company started? Did I know our origins? Corsair's origin at the time, I wasn't a part of them yet. So it was like, they wanted to know if I did my research, because it also shows, hey, this person put in the work. They really care about this position. So they're going to look past the surface level. They're going to dig deep, do the research, find some names and stuff like that. So effort and finding your unique selling point is my biggest tips.
Question I have, I don't know if you guys have done any interviews for people that have been applying, but is there anyone that you've interviewed that's like a very memorable thing that they've done or that made them stand out to you guys?
Tracie?
I'm trying to think if I can think of a specific one. Fun fact, I actually interviewed Nick, who was on our previous panel, when he had first applied for the job. I think he did really well. He made a good impression on the entire team, and he knew our program. I think one thing we had asked about was like the strengths and weaknesses, and he wasn't afraid to talk about the weaknesses, and obviously not say it in a super negative way. But it shows that, if you ever get interviewed, like what things do you like or dislike about our streamer program or something, it's okay to say what you don't like, but maybe include ways that you would suggest improving or something like that. And I think he wasn't afraid to talk about the negatives, but also, put it in that good light of what could be potentially improved, which I think was cool.
Constructive criticism is what he gave.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's really good.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in particular, like a really unique circumstance, but I think a lot of times, like Tracie was saying, you almost have like Tracie had PR skills, right? So our PR director was like, why aren't you doing PR? So I think that can be a really unique thing, because then you can understand how another team works. And that's really useful in an organization like Corsair. It's growing and big as you understand how the other teams work. So we have had a couple of instances of that, where people had either social media experience or experience in another area or another, division of Corsair that it does help and does set you apart.
Okay, cool. We'll hop into our next question. Have you guys any common mistakes that you see applicants or students pushing themselves for? Like, I do this, but it's not they shouldn't be pushing that, like a mistake that they shouldn't be advertising type of thing.
Common mistakes, I would say. Yeah. Some things I think I've noticed would be, again, these are all kind of straightforward, but it's always good to kind of
never
reiterate them.
Yeah.
And I think when you're applying, obviously big thing is having a cover letter that is tailored. And not just your gaming life story, where it's when I was 10, I picked up my Super Nintendo and I knew that's really good. But I like what Andrew had said earlier, finding your unique selling point and making that your highlights. And I think maybe including that in your cover letter might be something that's worth doing. There's a lot of applicants, surprisingly, that don't even submit cover letters at all. Corsair is definitely one of those where we value the cover letter. So that's a big one as far as a common mistake. Other things I think is not putting all of your experience, your gaming experience on your resume, or even bringing it up in an interview. I think some people, a lot of especially in the early days, I think a lot of people who are doing gaming related stuff may be doing it on a volunteer basis. They're not necessarily getting paid for it. So they think it might not be relevant to put on their resume. Well, it definitely would be. Even things like streaming. If you're applying for a gaming company, if you're a streamer, it's good to include that stuff, because we want to know how much you are in the industry, what things you're doing, what events you've been to and how you've contributed and things like that. So I think those are a couple of things that people think about, and they're like, does this really matter? And they maybe second guess it, but I think that stuff does matter. So yeah.
And I think some other common mistakes, kind of building off what Tracie said with the cover letter, is focusing on the wrong aspect. So we've had people apply and they focus on esports, and I'm like, well, PR doesn't deal too much with esports at Corsair, so this isn't really relevant to the position you're applying for. So I think a lot of people just see, hey, there's an opening at Corsair, and they just throw it out there. And it's if you want to work at Corsair, make sure whatever position you're applying for, your cover letter is relevant too, and that you're focused on what the position is actually for. I think a lot of people just shotgun, apply everywhere and see what sticks, kind of a thing, and apply at every single position at Corsair. But be focused on what you're trying to communicate, and make sure that what you're applying for is what you actually want to do. And then when interviewing, just be yourself, and be honest. If you don't know, I think a big thing that I've talked about with Harry, our PR director, is a lot of people interview and they they're not honest. Like he asked me some questions and some tough questions. I was like, I honestly don't know the answer, but like, I'd love to, figure that out. And he was like, I appreciate the honesty versus just trying to make something up. Right. So I think being honest, even if you don't know, it's okay to not know everything in an interview, right? You're applying to work and they're going to teach you and you're going to learn. So just be honest, be yourself, and don't try to BS too much. Right.
Yeah. That's a good one too.
So like you're saying earlier, so make sure you basically tailor your resume to whoever you're applying.
Exactly.
Remove all, if it's not applicable for the job, maybe don't list it as an experience.
Yep. Yeah. Because you want to keep it concise, especially in PR, because a lot of PR is writing, right? So you keep it as concise as possible and communicate your point in as few words as possible.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Obviously, I don't think you guys have been applying recently, but do you know any current tools that students should be using for their applications, for their resumes, their CVs, to put themselves a step above that you think could be?
I think it depends. So I know when like on our website, when you're applying, you can submit kind of like a more formal resume, but I also think that having a very vibrant resume, maybe that's a bit more, it doesn't have to be graphic artist designed resume, but having something that's a bit more beyond like a Word document with your experience, I think is really good. Something just visually stunning that kind of stands out, I think is very helpful. So yeah, I know that's kind of something that's important when applying, is something just a little bit visual that not necessarily is like
not a full-on graphic, but make it look pretty. Okay.
Yeah. I think organization's a big part of that, right? Make sure it's nice, organized, easy to read. It makes sense where your breakpoints are, everything like that. And Chris, am I understanding the question right? Is it basically like, is there any software or something people can?
Yeah, if there's any software you guys know about that, like I think InDesign people use to make their applications or resumes.
Yeah.
So
something
just more than Word. If you guys knew anything.
Yeah, InDesign is a good one. I have used, what else have I used for applications? I've used some good templates online. Even like I've actually even like thrown things on Photoshop to just kind of make it work. But obviously if you save it, PDFs usually work. I know sometimes when you like upload the stuff, it doesn't always translate over that well. So yeah, I think that is good, but I think, InDesign is probably one of the more stronger ones as far as resume go.
Yeah, Tracie's the expert in beautifying things. I'm like, I'll let my writing talk for me, right? I'll organize it nicely and I'll let my writing talk. Tracie's like, I'll do this and I'll do this. And then I'll go into Photoshop and do this.
Honestly, even like Google has some good, templates for resumes. You may, if you want to like spruce it up a little bit to add some personality. Yeah, Andrew's right. I do like to add like personality to things. Like I may take a template and just change a couple of things to kind of make it my own, so that it's not just like standard Google template. I think that's honestly the best idea, right? Just take a template, make it your own, and make sure that what you write is you. Like mine, my resume or my cover letter, a lot of my language was like pretty strong because I know like my strength is interviewing. So I basically like took some more risk and a really strong language in my cover letter to be like, hey, like I know that I'm great for this position. So all I needed was a shot, right? So that's the way that I thought about it. So I had really strong language. It resonated with, people at Corsair, and then killed it at the interview. And here we are. Yeah.
You got the job. Perfect. I'm with you on that, Andrew. I'm not really good with graphics. I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
See, your strengths. I'm telling you, that's all. That's what it's all about. Yeah. Tracie's great at designing stuff. That's why she's now a PM doing that. So sticking to her strengths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for those answers. We'll hop over to our next topic. Again, just want to remind everyone that's watching, if you have any questions for either Tracie or Andrew, type them in the chat and we'll answer them at the very end of this whole panel. Okay, so our next topic. You guys have been in the industry. Are there any perks you guys have? Like, what's something cool that you've been working on the industry for a while that most people not know about on the outside?
Do you want to start, Andrew?
Just some of the cool stuff. I I do really like going to the shows, which obviously we haven't had many of in the past year and a half, but I really did like going to like CES was really cool. And I think that was like one of my first big projects at Corsair, is basically to invite media to our show at CES. And so that was really cool, reaching out to media and asking them, and then seeing them show up and then talking to them in real life. That was really, really cool. Perks beyond that, Tracie's going to laugh at me. PR gets some perks. We get to order ourselves the products for the most part in order to test them out. So everyone always kind of laughs at us because I just think they're just jealous a little bit, because we're testing stuff out to make sure we understand it, and then we can tell our media exactly, how it works.
Yeah. Hey, same here, actually.
Yeah. Well, now you're,
yeah. Now that I'm a PM, a cool thing is, we do get like early samples of things, prototypes that we have to test out and make sure it all looks good. And, the color is right and all the keys are right and everything like that. So that's kind of cool. But so I do like, being able to see the products and things before they launch. It's very exciting. When we have big product launches, I do get very excited beforehand because I really am curious and excited to see audiences' reaction to the product. And it's definitely one of the highlights, is seeing the stuff that you worked on out there and, seeing people react to it. It's like, wow, this is really cool. And working with certain, influencers and streamers and all that stuff is cool. We recently did a brand partnership with T-Pain, which was really cool. If we weren't, in COVID, I could have actually gone to we did a commercial with T-Pain, and I would have been there, but just my boss went because we wanted to keep it as little
safe
people as possible.
So
she just went to manage the shoot, but if the chance that I could have gone there would be really cool. That was an exciting one. Being able to work with T-Pain was very exciting, and he loves our products, so it makes me really happy to see that.
And I think Tracie touched on a big one, being able to work with these big names that maybe growing up you watched on YouTube or Twitch, and then being able to like actually work with them and emailing them being like, hey man, like, you want to check out this product? And he's like, yeah, I'd love to. And being able to do that is just really cool. And another thing with PR that's pretty cool is when it's not COVID and we can actually do stuff, we will go out and like visit our media. So for example, we went to New York and met with some of the guys like at PC Mag and PC Gamer. So some big websites and magazines and you just like go and you just hang out with them, just build a relationship with them. It's not even like work at that point, right? Like, it's just hanging out with friends. So that's a really cool aspect of PR, it is about building relationships, and Corsair does a good job of giving us that opportunity to go and put some face-to-face time in.
Nice. It sounds really fun to travel.
Absolutely.
Overcode, have you guys been working remote, or do you guys have to go in the office at all? I don't know if you guys, I think Corsair's office is in North California, the Bay Area.
Yep. Yeah, we have been remote. There's like currently like an optional go back to the office if you need to, but we haven't really needed to. I know, like I go in like a couple of days if there's things like if I need to pick up a product for photo shoots or like things like that, I'll go in. I think the same's for you, right, Andrew?
Yeah. So, PR is now going in once a week. We're going to slowly start ramping back up into going a little bit more. But we'll see how COVID goes. It seems to be getting worse. So, but for over a year straight, it was all work from home though.
Yep. We've been working from home. Since March of last year, all of us. I feel like we've developed a pretty good system, at least, on the marketing side of, working remotely. So it's gotten, not so bad for us, especially working for a peripheral company where, we at least have good headsets and good lighting.
Perks of the job.
So, it's been not too bad for us as far as working from home goes.
Nice. Okay, cool. We'll hop over to the next question. We'll go with Andrew first. What's your most memorable moment so far at Corsair?
Most memorable moment. That's tough. Probably, honestly, CES 2019. Geez. When I was able to, like I said, invite media to come see all these new products we're unveiling, and then to see them show up and to meet everyone and to meet a bunch of YouTubers and meet, you know, Jay's 2 cents and some of Linus's team, and just all of that was really, really cool to see your work, you know, come to fruition, and then to see big names be there, right? It was just really rewarding and really just a cool experience. And yeah, I think that's my highlight so far. We've kind of, it's tough to have highlights when you're just working from home for
yeah.
But I'm sure Tracie's been at Corsair a while, so I'm sure she has some really cool stories.
Yeah, I think my most memorable moments was
give
probably
us multiple.
Yeah, I think when I was working in social media, so I first started as community manager, so doing social media. We had a lot of fun doing social media stuff because we get to, you know, come up with cool content ideas, and sometimes that stuff goes viral. So we did an April Fool's video back in 2018, I believe it was. And back then, there was a lot of it was trending. The GPU mining for Bitcoin, which I guess is still kind of relevant now, actually. It's kind of a relevant topic now, but back then it was even more relevant because it was impossible to buy graphics cards because all these miners were buying them up. So we made an April Fool's spin-off video that was like it was a commercial that was supposed to be like the Sarah McLachlan ASPCA, those sad animal videos. And I was the spokesperson. I was the Sarah McLachlan that was, you know, making a commercial about these poor GPUs that are being mined and worked tirelessly, and donate now to save a GPU. And that actually like went viral, that video, and all of these tech websites were picking it up and making these jokes about Corsair coming out with this really funny April Fool's video. So that was really cool. And then the following year, we did another April Fool's video that I was also the spokesperson for. We did a parody on game launchers because, as we all know, there are now so many different game launchers. Like Steam, Epic, GOG, all of these game launchers. So we made a joke that was game launcher. We made a spin-off that we made a new software that can launch all of your game launchers. And that also made some good traction on the internet. So I just now am like, I must be the spokesperson for all for future April Fool's videos at Corsair.
It's part of your brand now.
Yeah, exactly. It actually is. Like I remember our CEO. So we have like a quarterly meetings with the company, and our CEO showed the April Fool's video to the whole company. For some reason, I was so embarrassed by it. I don't know why, even though like the internet has already seen this, but having our CEO like show this video to everybody, I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it's pretty funny and yeah, one of the highlights, I guess, that I've had.
Okay, cool. Another part of this question is more of, do you guys have like a favorite project? I don't know if you can go into too much detail about like, your favorite projects, but that you've launched other than like anything like that, or like for Andrew, like a favorite person you've reached out to, something that you're happy you got to reach out to. I don't know if you can disclose anything like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, if it's launches in the past, right, we can talk about it. But we've done some pretty cool launches. Facecam is really cool, which we just launched last month. That was a really fun one. We got to reach out to a bunch of new media since it's Elgato media are a little different than our usual media. So that was a lot of fun. Reaching out and working with guys like Bitwit, Kyle over there, Jay's 2 cents, and Linus's team is like, it's almost surreal, right? Because those guys are like, you know, massive and you know, the big guys, big dogs of the space. So just working with those guys and being able to just send like emails back and forth, or, you know, shoot little messages is just really cool. But there's not like, I'm trying to think of like a particular project. Nothing too crazy that really stands out. It's just like working with those guys is just surreal. But that's almost like a day-to-day thing now. So but it is still cool, right? So
you're getting to work with the people you probably watched them as you were in college, working at other jobs. So
exactly, and it's like this. You know, I'm you know, I'm in the industry. I'm here.
Yeah, you're there where you want it to be. You're watching the people. So
exactly.
Yeah. What about for you, Tracie? Do you have a favorite project, either in social media or now product manager?
Yeah, I think one of the one of the favorite projects that I worked on was a recent keyboard we came out with, the K65 Mini, which is our first 60% like smaller keyboard. And I had worked on the marketing for that one, and it was exciting because for a while, like everybody's like, when's Corsair going to make a 60% keyboard?
For forever, yeah.
Yeah, forever. And that's something actually people on social media would ask us all the time, like, when are you making your 60%? And, you know, we don't talk about unreleased products, so I could never say like it's coming soon. So it was just like in the nebula, like people had no idea if or when Corsair was going to make one. And we finally dropped one, and it was nice because we got to do some fun assets for that one. I got to take, you know, some of our like colorful keycaps and make fun designs with them, and use those kind of things for our assets. And I think people really were like, it resonated with people as far as the customization element goes for that. So I was so happy that we got to launch that 60% keyboard. And yeah, so that was probably one of my favorite projects personally.
And circling back around to like perks of the job, it's cool. And Tracie was talking about like unreleased stuff. Is Tracie would send us images of her keyboard designs for that product launch and be like, Does this one look cool? Is this one cool? What do y'all think of this one? And it was just really cool. It's cool seeing like, you know, teammates, you know, innovate and come up with really cool things, and then to be seen early and asked what you think is a really cool aspect of working at Corsair.
Yeah, I definitely value the input of like my fellow coworkers. I think collaboration is a big thing with, you know, our jobs and working together. And I like to not just have like an echo chamber of like, if I think this is good, or like we think this is good, like then that's it. You know, this is definitely what people want. But when thinking about, you know, what gamers want in their products, I think it requires a broader pool of people. So reaching out not only to other teams, but sometimes, you know, reaching out to our community sometimes in our Discord and things like that. They're, you know, our core fans, and they are the people who you know, we want to make sure we're getting their input and the stuff that we're launching. So
I want to make sure they'll buy the product that you're making.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's nice to, you know, get feedback and collaborate with people outside of our little bubble.
Because we are, at the end of the day, we are, you know, passionate about gaming and PC building. So we want to do cool stuff. So your, you know, community's feedback is really important, because we're not just here to just make and sell products. We want to make cool products that gamers enjoy. People
that will use and enjoy and show off to their friends.
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, I wanted to remind everyone again, if you have any questions for Tracie or Andrew, type them in the chat and we'll get to them shortly. Actually, I think it is time for Q&A. So do we have any questions?
I'll be really sad if we don't have any questions. So don't make
Hopefully
Andrew sad.
We have at least one question.
Hopefully.
There's actually one in Twitch chat. It's from Jay Scrubs. I think it's for Tracie. Doesn't have who it's for, so I believe it's for Tracie. It's, since your role is more part of the creative field, how do you keep your ideas original and creative? Every time they want to choose something, it goes back to where they've done. So
Yep, that is definitely a big challenge. And that's something I've noticed. I've honestly noticed in the past couple of years, I think like just like working from home and like sitting at the same desk all the time, like thinking about the same things. It is, I do find that to be a challenge, is thinking creatively besides, you know, what all the stuff that I'm kind of used to in my own small bubble. And I think for me, I like to actually set aside time during the day to look at what other, you know, people in the space are doing. So, you know, looking at a lot of my job does require like kind of like market research and looking at what's trending on Reddit, believe it or not. Like browsing Reddit is not something normally people would say is a good thing to do during work, but for us, that actually is important. Seeing what people are doing and saying and seeing what's like the latest trends, I think is something that I find to be important and keep my ideas kind of fresh and creative, and making like mood boards and inspiration boards. I use Trello a lot at work. And so I like to make Trello boards of just cool things that I find to reference later. And I actually do try to make a note to reference them and look at, you know, maybe these companies that make really cool keyboards and things like that I think is really cool. I like to just go back and reference those things. But I definitely, I know that struggle where finding that creativity and finding new ways to do things. Like if I want to do a new website and, I can just go through the same motions of making the website, making our web pages look the same, but it's like, how do I make this stand out? And that can be a challenge at times. So I think just kind of looking out in the field really, really helps.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah.
We have a next question. This one's for Tracie again. Is there any entry-level roles? We have one for you after this, Andrew.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. So for Tracie, is there any entry-level roles for product manager, or is it more of working under a product manager for long enough to get to where you are?
Good question. I think that it depends on what you're looking. I think that there isn't a ton of entry level roles for product management. There are like APMs, which is like I think is associate product manager, that usually will work under a product manager. The APMs usually have a little bit of experience already before getting into that. I think what helped me get this role was previous jobs, and maybe not necessarily in product management, but at least in product marketing and things like that, I think really helped. Working under APM for a while is, I think, is a good place to start. Being an APM, associate product manager, and then working your way to PM is kind of a good route, and I know that one that people would take.
I think it is tough to. I don't think there's a ton just straight out of college to be able to get to be a product manager. You have to have some experience in the industry. Most of our PMs are really, really well, known and well established and really know what they're doing. So I think some experience is usually the way to go forward. But just if you want to get to be a product manager, just start doing anything you can to put yourself on that path and work toward it.
I think starting just because it's a good goal if you want to be a product manager. Starting in certain backgrounds, I think definitely helps. And a cool thing about Corsair, I think, is we do a lot of, I guess, hiring within, and that if there are certain roles available, sometimes we might look at people who have been in certain positions at Corsair for a while. There have been people who worked in like our technical marketing team that have become product managers. And so I think that's really cool to build up, whatever experience in technical marketing or product marketing or gaming marketing. And then getting to the product manager role is good. So,
okay. So just build relevant experience that could use for the job.
Yep.
Exactly. Tracie's a perfect example of that. She went from community management to marketing to product manager. So she's did a couple of hops.
Yeah.
But they all build upon each other to get to where you're now product manager.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next question we have is for Andrew. Did you get into the industry looking specifically for a PR role, or how did you come upon the career path to pick it up?
So PR, I basically in college was like, I can do advertising, I can do marketing, I can do PR. And I ended up with PR just because relationship building is at the core of that. And I'm a talker, so it just kind of worked out that way. But so as soon as I got out of college, I looked for PR specific jobs because I wanted to, I got a degree, right? I want to use it. And I figured that'd be the easiest way to get a job without because it's so hard to get a job straight out of college, right? Because every position I swear is entry level, 2 years of experience. You're like, that's not entry level. Okay.
Yeah.
So I basically just wanted to leverage my degree. So I focused on PR. And then I was like, you know what? I do like the relationship building aspect in a professional setting. So then I applied at Corsair and just kind of continued on that path. So I'm pretty well ingrained in that, but it doesn't have to be that. A lot of people will get degrees because PR, marketing, advertising, they're kind of interchangeable in a sense, because especially in college, a lot of the courses you take are similar. So you can kind of do anything in that arena. But I kind of just chose to stick to like that PR title and PR specific job requirements. But yeah, just kind of worked for me, but whatever works for you may be different, right?
Okay, cool. Another question we have: how important were your majors in your current role? Obviously, I know Andrew, you majored in PR, so
I think I
pretty
answered that
important.
one pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't have to be your major is not the end all be all. It's definitely can lead into what you're doing. But I know tons of people that, maybe they did engineering or something else, and then they can end up in product marketing or whatever. Like it really is interchangeable. Like whatever you're passionate about, whatever you find yourself doing, and if you enjoy it, lean into it. But you're not pigeonholed into what your degree is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever talked about what your major was, Tracie, by the way.
Yeah. My major was broadcast journalism in college. So it was a little relevant going into what I was doing because, I did take some advertising classes and some video classes. And I think that helped with making content, and that, turns into marketing and social media and things like that. So it was a little relevant for me, but it wasn't like a direct correlation. So yeah, like Andrew said, it's not always like the end all be all as far as what you want to do.
Okay, cool. I think I have one more question here from chat. It's how do you guys know when you've been successful with what you guys are doing at your job? Like when you're launching a product or you're reaching out, is there like a sales number you guys look for, social media engagement? Is it, like you said, the CEO sharing your video of your April Fools to the whole company? Is there something that you guys know?
Yeah, I'll let Tracie go. Because she's been in a couple of different roles, so her barometers have kind of changed.
Yeah, that is actually a really good question. Measuring that success. I think metrics are a big thing with social media. Our metrics were definitely very important. Seeing not just the growth. One interesting thing as a tip for social media managers is the follower count isn't always the most important. I think a lot of people are beginning to learn this, or at least, have a basic understanding of this. It's not always the follower count, but just the overall engagement. And one thing that we always did for metrics was the engagement per followers. So, there may be a, competitor that has like 2 million followers, but their engagement on their posts are a little bit lower. We were noticing that our follower numbers were lower, but we had a better ratio of engagement per followers. And to us, that was a measurement of success. So metrics are very important. Same thing for marketing when we're doing, recaps, seeing how, the views on the website, seeing the video views, all that kind of stuff is important. And we'd like to just kind of measure those and see like what we did well, maybe what we didn't do well in a post-mortem kind of sense. So one thing I definitely think is important is keeping a record of all of those successes that you had maybe in some sort of portfolio. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like a website where you show off all of your stuff, but just keep like a personal folder where you have some cool visuals or statistics of things that you've worked on that have been successful. And so you have that ready to go for your interview when you're talking with your, potential employer, and you have a bunch of things ready to go showing success of metrics and things like that. And any little thing, like if you post something and a famous person picks it up and retweets it, even stuff like that, I think is good to just kind of keep that all filed away. So you have them all there and you know what your successes were.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you have anything to add, Andrew? Or
yeah, so success for PR team is it kind of boils down to how much coverage did you get, right? So for a product launch, it's how many samples did you send out? You sent out 10 samples. Okay. How many of those did you convert on day one? How many of those did you convert the first 2 weeks? And so you want to at least, we aim for at least 90%. So we try to hit that number, hopefully as quickly as possible. Hopefully the media doesn't delay it. But the important thing, I think Corsair does a really good job, at least the PR team does, of the review. If it's positive or negative doesn't matter unless it's something that you could prevent. It's like, let's say they had a product that broke or something like that, and you weren't able to fix that, and so in the review they're like, yeah, it just broke, so I didn't get to use it, then that's on us, right? But if it's like, hey, this product failed in these points, they're not going to get upset at us for that, which is a really key thing. So we're not judged on how positive the reviews are. We're judged on, did we get the coverage? Did we do everything we could do to make sure that the media had everything they needed and their product worked as intended? So I really appreciate that Corsair is doing like the right thing when it comes to that. It's not about, convincing your media, hey, give us a good review. It's about, building a relationship with them and doing an honest review. So it is about the end goal, which is honest, trustworthy reviews, and hopefully they're great reviews. And beyond that, it is just converting your coverage, and staying on top of things. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I believe I have one last question. It's for both of you guys. Did your roles and responsibilities change at all when Corsair went public? And if so, how did your guys' roles or responsibilities change at all?
For me, mine didn't really change much. When we went public, it was kind of just, it was like business as usual. The only thing now is that, our stuff is more out there for people to see, as opposed to when we were not public. So I guess that was interesting. Maybe more people like just commenting on it in general online. But for me, personally, my roles are nothing really changed much. But yeah, Andrew, I don't know if you have any other experience.
Yeah, so it changed a little bit. So before, when talking to media, if you're friends with them, if you're pretty close with them, it'd be like, yeah, man, like that launch did really well, or like you kind of give them some insider knowledge of some sort, just to kind of like just talking. You're just friends, but we have to watch that now. We can't say that because they'll be like, oh, so y'all are expecting a good quarter. Let me invest in Corsair. So we have to be cognizant of that, not to reveal anything that isn't public already. Yeah. And then also just how to handle those questions, because we do get inquiries from media, from random third parties. Hey, about our stock price, or about how are we looking for our stock price, like stuff like that. So it is, our communications had to change a little bit when it comes to our relationships with media, but nothing too drastic. You just kind of have to watch what you say, versus before, you could just be friends and it's not going to leave that room, but you still just can't say. You just have to cover your back, right?
Okay, cool. Thank you guys for that answer. So that was our last question. So I wanted to thank you again, Tracie and Andrew, for being here for this panel, for answering all these, for giving us your time. I wanted to give a shout out real quick to the Corsair Career Fair that's happening right now in their Discord. If you guys, any viewers who want to head over there, you can talk to other Corsair people. When you join their server, make sure you grab the student role in the Corsair Discord, and then hit the Uconnect role to get the student channel. So I wanted to again, thank you guys for coming out, and everyone have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone head over to Discord right now. Corsair Discord.
Yeah, Corsair Discord.
Head over.